Hi YouTube, it's Kathy, and as the title suggests, today I'm going to be reviewing Cemetery Boys by Aiden Thomas. This was one of my most anticipated books of the year, and it's also one of my favorite books of the year. Cemetery Boys is an adventure-filled paranormal mystery with a side serving of sass and romance about Yadriel, a trans brujo whose family hasn't let him go through his rites because they are unconvinced Lady Death will recognize his brujo powers. Maritza, his vegan bruja cousin, seems to be the only one in his corner, so they conspire to do his rites in secret to show his family once and for all that he is a brujo and worthy of their respect. When he tries to summon the spirit of his recently deceased cousin Miguel, he ends up with Julian Diaz, who doesn't remember how he died and who refuses to cross over until he checks up on his friends. What follows is an exploration of why Julian died and whether or not Yadriel will be able to send him to the other side, or if he even wants to. Right from the first page, we have atmospheric world building. We know Yadriel lives in the cemetery because his father is a brujo leader and the caretaker of that sacred space. Death, healing, blood, and rituals are all part of their culture, and the author points out that although many Latinx cultures have rituals around Lady Death, they are not all the same and they cannot be lumped together indiscriminately. Yadriel has to balance having a normal teenage life in Los Angeles and being part of this brujex community, which has mostly been just fine, except for a few bumps along the way while growing up. There are flashback scenes to pivotal points in his life that really help us to get to know this protagonist and the different experiences that have made him who he is. There are also a lot of fabulous characters, each of them with their own interesting traits. Although Maritza could use her healing magic, she decides against it because it requires animal blood, which goes against her vegan ethics. This was such a fantastic character trait to play with because it shows her making a choice that impacts so many aspects of her life, and even though Yadriel would do anything for magic, he respects her choice despite it being personally frustrating to him. Julian is a puppy in the best possible way. He's full of energy, much to the chagrin of Yadriel when he's trying to catch some shut-eye between rites, sneaking out of the house, and still making it to his math test. Julian is also incredibly loyal because his first concern he has upon realizing he's dead is wondering what happened to his friends. He's loud and can come off as obnoxious, but everything he does is rooted in a passion for the people he cares about. Throughout this novel, there are several casual hints as to what it's been like to be trans for Yadriel. We see him being dead-named by family members without it happening on the page, which is a nuance I love in Own Voice's writing because cis writers are far more likely to drop a dead name on the page knowing that it is harmful and not knowing that you could do it without putting it on the page. Dead names, even for fictional characters, are none of our business. We see him being emasculated by a parent who wants to keep him safe to the point of ignoring his identity. We see how he feels about his body throughout mentions of his binders and how they impact his day-to-day life. He has control over his hair, so works really hard to sculpt it in styles he emulates from his older brother's friends. Being trans is just one part of his story, and it's woven into the narrative so well that it could never be seamlessly removed. I want to share some spoiler-free quotes about the three most prominent characters in this book. Please keep it in mind that this is an advanced reader's copy and they are subject to change in the final copy. I know, for instance, that one of the inconsistencies that I noticed early on in this book is cleaned up in the final draft because a friend was nice to check based on my curiosity. I'm going to read directly from the page instead of memorizing because I don't want to mess anything up. This one has to do with our main character, Yadriel. To be blessed by Lady Death, to have his own portage, and to serve her was what Yadriel wanted most in the world. He wanted to be like the other brujos, to find lost spirits and help them pass to the afterlife. He wanted to stay up all night on boring graveyard duty. Hell, he'd have spent hours pulling weeds and painting tombs if it meant being accepted by his people as a brujo. Next, I have a quote about Maritza, who I love. "It took me weeks to make," she said as Yadriel untied the twine. "Burned myself like 8 times and nearly cut off a finger, but I think my dad has pretty much given up trying to keep me out of the forge." Her shrug was casual, but she stood tall, a proud grin pulling the corners of her lips. Yadriel knew this was a big deal for her. And then Julian, our overexcited puppy of a love interest. Julian's hips rolled, his head bobbed, eyes closed and smiling, the firelight danced over his skin. Yadriel was drawn to him like a moth to a flame, to his reckless charm and striking features. Julian was achingly beautiful, but in a way a thunderstorm was beautiful, wild, rough, electric. In short, this is a funny, heartfelt adventure that tugs at your heartstrings and makes you want to befriend and adopt the principal characters, with a look into rituals that could have been mistaken for dreary, but are actually enacted with reverence and love for those in the community. This book is about being proud of who you are and unyielding in your quest to have that recognized, acknowledged, respected, and admired. If you've read and loved this novel as much as I have and you're looking for comparable titles, I have a couple to suggest. You can find similar queer Brewhex vibes in the Brooklyn Brewhouse series, starting with Labyrinth Lost. If you're looking for a book with a passionate, artistic trans lead, I definitely suggest Felix Ever After by Case and Calendar. I gave Cemetery Boys a well-deserved 5 stars. This book is officially out in the world on Tuesday, September 1st, so if you haven't pre-ordered your copy, please do that now. You're going to love it. How excited are you for Cemetery Boys? Let me know about it down in the comments below. On the way down to the comments, if you hit that subscribe button, that would be very nice of you. If you don't feel like leaving a comment but want to make sure that I know you were here, just leave me an emoji or a smiley face if you're on your keyboard. Some people have asked if there's a way to financially support this channel, so I recently set up a Ko-fi account, which is a digital tipping service, similar to buying me a cup of coffee. That is linked down below, as well as the link to my PayPal and my Amazon wishlist in case you want to buy me a book. You can like and share this as you see fit, and I will see you very soon. Bye!